Welcome to Rollin with Mike, podcast on wheels. My name is Mike Wilson, aka Rollin Mike, your host. I am a writer, speaker, and disability coach, and author of a book titled Return from the Edge. 31 years ago, I was injured in a life-altering motor vehicle accident that left me as a quadriplegic. This is my story. I want to welcome you guys today to the Rollin with Mike podcast on wheels.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure to have you both here. So today I have on here PuroClean of Pinellas Park. Today I have Artie and his wife Adriana. They're owners, franchise owners, I believe. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about who they are, maybe where they came, and a little bit about faith, family, and work.
Hello, Mike. Thank you for having us. We're very excited to be here in your podcast, especially because we know that these are, like you said, companies that do provide the services like we do, restoration services, come across under unfortunate situations. So it's very vital for the community to be informed about the resources that are out there and how to get to the proper information when they're going through something like this.
No, thank you, Mr. Mike. My name is Artie Lopez. I'm the owner of PuroClean. What we do, we're a restoration company. We do water, fire, mold, biohazard, and those are some of the unplanned situations like you just mentioned before. That's pretty much in the nutshell what we do, but we do it very well. And not about all these other companies who come and go out of town. We are here local in Pinellas Park. We've been here for a little bit over a year. We're here to serve and assist the community.
That's great. I know when I first met you at a networking meeting, if you remember that, it's been over a year ago, and I was really impressed with the way you handled yourself, your personality. Your husband wasn't there at the time. We didn't get to meet till we had Taco Tuesday. So that being said, one thing that I wasn't real clear about was which counties do you serve here in Florida?
We serve Hillsborough, Pasco, Manatee County, Hernando, and we're able to travel throughout the state of Florida and nationally. But these are the main counties the surrounding areas of where our office is located. Our office is located in Kennett City, so between St. Pete and Pinellas Park. And we offer our services in all the surrounding counties.
All right. Artie, I know last time I think I was together with you, we had just went through one of the hurricanes. We live here, unfortunately, or fortunately, unfortunately, whichever way you want to look at it. We live in a great climate, a great state. Whether we're not going to talk about the governor. I like the governor. I think he's doing a great job. But that being said, with the hurricanes, so could you describe a little bit? I know this one went a little bit north of us. A year ago we're looking at what happened down south, that horrific one, Category 4 that destroyed Fort Myers and parts of Sarasota, and unbelievable, the act of God, the force of the wind. But describe a little bit about that one that came a little north of the Tampa Bay area.
Yeah, we did with a couple of places in Short Acres, which that's one of the hardest hit places, and it's still to this day not completely rebuilt. One of the things that I want to try to remind everybody, when you have a hurricane, you have water intrusion in your house that coming from the outside. That water carries a lot of bacteria, harmful bacteria. It is not just the clean water from dishwasher or your water pipe. You have to take care of that. Unfortunately, there are some residents who, for some reason or the other, couldn't afford it or could not do it or did not want to do it, and now to this day they have some issues with the places. Another thing is, like I said, we did several places. All those places are rebuilt as of now, and they're safe to be back at home. We just visited a home in Short Acres last week, and after, 2.5 months, the place is still not completely renovated. They still have bacteria, microbial growth throughout the area. Unfortunately, the company who did it did not perform it correctly, but we are here to take over and do it correctly.
Let me ask you a question along those lines. How difficult do you find in this process to the homeowners, depending on what type of insurance they have, if they have flood insurance, do you all find a lot of issues with them having the insurance, and is that something that's on a regular basis tough to deal with?
For flooding, most of the houses of the homeowners have flood insurance through FEMA or some of the companies. Since we started this company, the rules have changed from FEMA, how they want us to work, how they want us to present the estimate and the type of work that we do in order for them to actually pay the customer. Again, it takes a long time for even the customer to get the approval to perform any remediation work. So most of the customers go out of pocket, and then they expect the FEMA to pay them after the fact, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Payment towards any of the restoration companies depends what company you work with, what insurance company. Some companies are quick, some other companies can take months before you can even get paid for the services that you render to the customer.
Well, can you kind of give the average everyday listener that may be listening to this, give them some pointers as to what they need to look for in an insurance when they're getting homeowners insurance, so that if a catastrophic life-altering event would happen and their home would be damaged, can you describe or give in detail what they should be looking for?
Yeah, the first thing is to be educated about your policy. Because sometimes somebody can come and offer you a very cheap policy that is going to save you a whole lot a year, but they don't mention that you're going to have caps when it comes to these type of scenarios. So what it means that is, if you have a water damage, the insurance company puts a cap of $10,000, so that's the maximum that they're going to pay. And that sometimes is not enough to do the whole restoration in your house. When it comes to mold, a lot of insurance companies are putting caps too for that. Mold remediation is a very expensive, thing to go through. So sometimes the people, they know that they're going through a cheap, that they're just saving all these dollars, but then when it comes to be able to use it, they come and find out that, oh my God, I only have like a $3,000 cap on my policy, and this is not even going to help for the start of the restoration. Mm-hmm. So that's very important for everybody to be aware, to just go over their policies and ask questions to their insurance. Do I have a cap for fire? Do I have a cap for mold? What are these caps? And know these things, because when it happens, then that's the last time that, when you're just like, oh my God, I thought that I was covered, and no, I only have $10,000 that is not even going to start covered by to the start. And that happens to us when we went through, because we started this business because we experienced a fire in our home. So when we went through it, that's kind of how we started learning about all this industry and how in detail and how much we have as homeowners. It's our responsibility to know these things in order to be prepared for these type of scenarios.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I'm sure you come across that you have some that are brokenhearted, and that's, as a business owner, you gotta, if you have a heart, it's hard to see people look and be like, I didn't know that, or I wouldn't, and you don't want to, the last thing you want to do is beat a person when they're down. You try to help them as much as you can and pick them back up. But I can only imagine some of the pain that you've seen some of your customers go through. And but along those same lines, a lot of successes and a lot of things, that they've when you got through completing a job. Can you walk me through, like, what that's like from start to finish?
We try to take care of the customer in exactly the same. That's what differentiates PuroClean and Pinellas Bar from most of the other companies. We are passionate about what we do. We take it personally. We talk to the individual, and we assure them that everything's going to be okay. That's the first thing. We make recommendations based on the damage that we see. First of all, I mean, we always tell them and ask them, make sure you got different estimates. Don't go with just one company. Make sure you review your policy. We also recommend that they do get a public adjuster. It is the process for them to dealing with the insurance company. So to go back to your initial question, we go to the place. Okay, we have water damage, for example. We have dishwasher. So we go in there, what is the damage? Okay, you got carpet, you got floating floors, you got this, whatever the type of flooring it is. We make an assessment, we do a moisture assessment. We send the report to the customer with the recommendations, and then we submit an estimate for the repairs. How long is it going to take? The longer you take to remediate water damage, the harder it's going to be in the future. If you have previous damage, that will be immediate. Within 2 days, you will see microbial growth going through different places. A lot of people ask, well, how expensive it is. But it depends what you have to do. I mean, you want to do the best possible job with the least amount of intrusion and heartache to the customer.
Right.
Because, I mean, you're going to be out of your house, or you going to have this room unavailable for you for 3 to 5 days. And like I said, we take care of the customer. It's not all about the money.
Well, I'm glad you say that, because a lot of times today, there's so much greed out there. They'll tell you one thing, but then they totally do the opposite, and that's sad. So to have someone that owns their own, like yourselves, that own a business, but have a family, but also have been through a fire, to know what to expect, and to have had your life turned upside down. I know when you all went through yours, your insurance company put you up in a hotel, so you had to get used to living out of a hotel. But thank God you had a place to live while they were working on it. So that peace of mind has to be worth its weight in gold, correct?
Yeah, and especially like in some of these instances, you're just talking to the firefighters. You're in the middle of the disaster, and vendors start knocking on your door. Because some of these companies are doing this. They're tracking all the calls coming to the fire stations, and they go straight to the fires as they're happening. So the customers are distressed. They're vulnerable. They're in a moment where they just don't know what's going on. And these vendors come, sign here, sign there. Before you know, bills start coming in before you are even approved to do any type of job. Yeah. So that's something that we don't agree with. That we don't follow those protocols. We don't like those practices of just rushing into a place as people are experiencing something so traumatic. We trust in the relationships that we have in the community and with our business partners to get these calls from somebody that knows us, to refer us to somebody that's going through a tragedy. But just stomping into a thing when people are just distressed because they're going through a lot, they don't even know what's happening, and then all of a sudden people start coming to your house, taking your belongings, and before you know, it's like happened to us. 2 weeks after the fire happened, we got our first bill, $25,000 to clean our clothes. We were just perplexed. We didn't know what to do. We're like, if this is the start of this remediation process, how much is it going to be? And how is it, it's a lot that it happens. You're overwhelmed. So at the beginning, it has to be just one step at a time, be able to guide the customer into saying, okay, we're going to go little by little. We're going to explain the situation in a way that it doesn't feel so overwhelming to make all these decisions at once.
You just mentioned about recommending getting an adjuster. I know a lot of people, because there's a lot more car accidents, automobile accidents, than there are house fires. When that happens, you get a hold of the insurance company. Both sides trades insurance. In a fire, that's a little bit different. You get a hold of the insurance company yourself. But I know it's got to be crucial that there's a inspector come out, someone that'll help walk you through step by step and assess the damage.
When the fire happened, the firefighters will assess the situation.
Yeah.
And then after that, it says, yeah, your structure is safe, but you still need to get like a structural engineer or somebody who said, okay, you have no structural damage, get a signature, and pretty much that's it. If we find anything that is structurally damaged after we remove the drywall, usually you see it. So we can contact the homeowner, we contact the insurance, and they will send an assessor to say, okay, this is structural damage, we need to replace it, and that will be added to the claim. And I want to go back to the claim process again. When you go into the insurance, make sure again that you know your limits. Some insurance companies do not have a clause for you to go outside and live at a hotel. Some of them do not. Some of the companies, they have the preferred vendors that they said, okay, this is a company who's going to do your restoration. You have the choice, the right to pick up whoever you want.
Yeah, we all assume that it's just we have to go with whoever the insurance sent, but it's not the case. That happened to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we end up not using them because it was excessive. It was just, they know how much are your limits on your insurance, so they are going to go for those limits.
Yeah.
And regardless, I mean, $24,000 to clean the clothing.
Yeah.
Give me $5,000, that'll be good.
Right. It's not too hard. That's not too hard to figure out. That's a little excessive for clothing unless you have a big house full of nothing but clothes, or if you're in a department store, and then that makes a lot more sense.
That makes sense.
$25,000, but just to be in a normal house fire with 3, husband, wife, and one child, 25,000 is knocking on it. It's steep. Let's just put it there. But it's safe to say that's steep. What have you found to be one of your biggest challenges in getting word of mouth out there?
A lot of people in the trades are there for the money and not really for the customer, worrying for the customers. So sometimes it's very hard to align with people that have the same values. So we're out there networking, meeting people. We do work together, but then at some point we know that we have to part ways when we see practices that don't align with our values. And sometimes walking away from a project, we have to do it because it just doesn't, we're not going to, be there for practices that don't align with what we believe. And we see it every day too. We're brought to a project. The contractor wants us to say certain thing to a customer. We're not about that. We'll be there to guide the customer, to provide the education, whether that aligns with the contractor or not. It's just to make things better for the community. So that's something that is kind of put a challenge because not everybody has the same values as us.
When you started this business and when you became a owner of one, how, as far as vehicles, automobiles, the equipment, et cetera, was that all supplied through PuroClean? Was it reasonable for you all to get started?
Yeah, I think that PuroClean has a very good program for people that want to start in the industry. Thankfully, we had a background in environmental science, and Artie had a background in health and safety. So we were knowledgeable about the industry, but PuroClean said everything for us to be able to kind of jump in the industry, be prepared, get certified with everything that we needed to be able to do the work correctly and following the standards of the association that regulates this type of restoration work. And they provide us with all the equipment that was going to be needed to perform the job correctly, what type of vehicle will be ideal to provide the services. And we went through like 2 months of extensive training with corporate.
Did you go away to any schooling or do it? Did you have to do it from home, or did you go away for a week at a time?
Yeah, PuroClean has a headquarters in Tamarack near Miami, and they have one of 40-something houses. They have like a flood house inside a warehouse.
Ooh.
And basically in this house, you practice hands-on all these different scenarios that might be possible when you're out there restoring fire, water, microbial growth, crime scenes. They have trainers that are leaders like in the industry. They're the same ones that are like part of the board members of the IRCRC, which is the association that regulates everything in restoration. And they give you all the training from how to dry a house, how to do the fire restoration, how to deal with a crime scene. And they prepare you very well for, to be out there and just be successful at what you do.
When I was majoring in criminal justice, I'm a big crime scene guy. I'm big into criminal justice. That's something that was my first love, something I wanted to do since 7th grade. And I started majoring in it in college, and then obviously went into the military, had my accident. So things changed. But with crime scene, how would they get in touch with you guys? Are you all set up with anyone here locally in any of the counties?
They just take care of the situation at hand. They're not, they remove whatever the body, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's up to the homeowner to contact a company.
Okay.
So there's several companies throughout Pinellas Park and Hillsborough. That's what they specialize.
Okay.
We work with some of those companies, and we have performed jobs together. So that way we can actually perform the better job than doing it just by ourselves. So my recommendation would be, look up for different companies, because I believe that the police and the firefighters are not, I would not say are not allowed, but they will not provide you with a recommendation. Okay, you need to contact this company now. I don't think they're allowed to do that. So again, it's word of mouth and all the work that she's doing.
And insurance sometimes, because the homeowners, if it happens in a house or even in the cars, because now car insurance is putting caps into those biohazard cleanups, because they're having a lot of incidents where suicides are happening now in the cars. So through the insurance, they give us a call or just directly looking for biohazard cleanups. That's how the cops will kind of guide the customer. Just go online and try to look for companies that perform biohazard cleanups.
Well, it's funny that you all should say a lot of these companies people get bombarded right off the bat because they're listening for the calls to come in. It's like ambulance chasers.
Yes.
Remember back when lawsuits became a big thing, you had all these attorneys and different people, ambulance chasers, because they want to get there and be the first one there to be on the scene. My advice would be, make sure that you do your homework first. Educate yourself so that you become an educated customer. You never know when something like this may happen, that you're in need of services. So what's been the greatest challenge, but the biggest, not just the greatest challenge, but also the biggest success that you've had?
I think the biggest success, it has to be the hurricanes. Being able to provide that level of hope to some family when they're in the worst, vulnerability, very tragic situation, and be able to put the peace of mind in their head, knowing that they're back in their home is done correctly and by people that care. So that's probably what fills our heart the most, to just sometimes get to the office and get these notes from customers saying like, thank you so much, because even though the hurricane was a so tragic experience, you made it all better. That kind of fuels us to keep going and do the best.
Nice to hear from a customer, and to know that you went above and beyond. So if you're ever in need of assistance, please reach out to them. It's PuroClean of Pinellas Park. Thank you for being a guest here today on the Rollin with Mike podcast on wheels. It's been an honor and a pleasure, and I wish you well in the future.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having us. Yeah, it's always great to put all this information out there for the community. So thank you for doing that, for getting this information out for the community. That's very important, and that's part of what we do.